Title of the first section today is Review, Multiplying, Fractions. In this section we'll multiply two fractions together. First question and first two fractions, 2/5 times 4/3. When multiplying fractions, we'll multiply the numerators together and multiply the denominators together straight across. When multiplying, we do not have to have common denominators. Multiplying the top numbers or numerators, 2 times 4 would be 8. And multiplying the denominators, 5 times 3 would be 15. This fraction cannot be reduced, so our final answer, 8/15. Second question, -6/4 times 5/7. Again, multiplying fractions, we can multiply straight across. 6 times 5 would be 30. We do have a negative, so we'll have a -30, divided by 4 times 7, which would be 28. Again, reduce fractions when possible. If we have 30 and 28, we can divide each of these by 2. So 30 divided by 2 would be 15. With a negative, we'll have -15 divided by 28 divided by 2 would be 14. So our final answer, -15/14. And last question for the section. In parentheses, we'll have a mixed number, -3 and 1/3. Close parentheses, and in a second parentheses, a second mixed number, -2 and 3/4. Just like adding or subtracting fractions, when we have mixed numbers, we can change these into improper fractions. Improper fractions, again, we'll take the number in front, multiply by the denominator, and then add the numerator. So -3 times 3, we'll have 9, plus 1 more would be 10. And since we have a negative, we'll have -10/3. The second parentheses, multiplying 2 times 4 will give us 8, plus 3 more would be 11. 11/4, and again bring the negative sign down, so we'll have -11/4. When we have two fractions inside parentheses, we're still multiplying. Negative times a negative will give us a positive answer. Multiplying straight across, 10 times 11 will be 110, divided by 3 times 4 will be 12. Again, reducing fractions when possible. Since both of these are even numbers, we can divide by 2. 110 divided by 2 would be 55, and 12 divided by 2 would be 6. So our final answer, 55/6. Title of the last section today is Review, Dividing, Fractions. In this section we'll divide two fractions together. One step or definition for the section is multiply by the reciprocal. In this section, when we divide fractions, we'll multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal, if you remember, is flipping a fraction upside down. First question and first two fractions. 2 over 7 divided by 3 over 5. When dividing fractions, the first fraction we'll rewrite as the same, 2 over 7. And using the definition, we'll multiply by the reciprocal. Instead of dividing, we can change this to a multiplication symbol. And we'll take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Instead of 3 over 5, we'll flip it upside down to have 5 over 3. Instead of dividing by 3 over 5, we can multiply by 5 over 3. And multiplying, we can multiply straight across. 2 times 5 would be 10. And 7 times 3 would be 21. So our final answer, 10 over 21. Second question, 8 over 7 divided by, in parentheses, negative 4 over 7. Again, anytime we're dividing by a fraction, the first fraction we can leave the same. And instead of dividing, we can change to multiplication. The reciprocal of the second fraction would be 7 over 4. And if it's negative, we'll leave it as a negative fraction. Multiplying straight across again. 8 times a negative 7 would be negative 56. And 7 times 4 would be 28. Always check and see if you can reduce fractions. Negative 56 over 28 can be reduced. You could divide each of these by 2, or 28 actually divides into 56 evenly. Divides in twice, which would be negative 2. If you did reduce by 2, you could keep reducing until you get to negative 2. But 56 divided by 28 would be 2, so the final answer would be negative 2. Next question, we'll have a mixed number, 5 and 1/8, divided by 2 and 1/2. Mixed numbers again, from previous sections, we can change into one fraction or an improper fraction. Again, multiplying 5 times 8, which would be 40, plus 1 more would be 41 over 8. And again, instead of dividing, we can multiply. If we change 2 and 1/2 into an improper fraction, 2 times 2 would be 4, plus 1 more would be 5 over 2. But since we're multiplying, we'll do the reciprocal, which would be 2 over 5. Again, multiplying straight across, 41 times 2 would be 82. And 8 times 5 would be 40. Again, check to see if you can reduce fractions. Anytime you have two even numbers, we can always divide by 2. 82 divided by 2 would be 41, and 40 divided by 2 would be 20. So our final answer, 41 over 20. And last question for the section. Have a fraction 6 over 5. And a fraction line underneath. And a second fraction 4 over 3. This question we have a fraction divided by a fraction. So we're still dividing two fractions. If we take the first fraction and rewrite that the same, 6 over 5. And instead of dividing by 4 over 3, we can change the dividing to multiplying. And the reciprocal of 4 over 3 would be 3 over 4. Multiplying straight across, 6 times 3 would be 18. And 5 times 4 would be 20. Reducing fractions again, we can divide each by 2. 18 divided by 2 would be 9, and 20 divided by 2 would be 10. So our final answer would be 9